This episode of the ABIC podcast is brought to you by SQT Biomicroneedling Australia. Hello and welcome to the ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Here, we're strengthening and unifying the industry through representation, innovation, and education. This is a platform created and dedicated to the aesthetic and beauty industry, valuing unity and advancement. We serve to represent, support, and inspire you by connecting you with industry experts, expanding your knowledge through educational pieces, and bringing you the latest industry news. This is the ABIC podcast. I'm your host, Stefanie Milla, and today's guest is Renée Altakrity, Managing Director of SQT Biomicroneedling Australia and a globally recognised Master Educator. Renée began her career as a cosmetic tattooist before founding Flawless Features by Renée and expanding into the dermal sector, where she quickly became a respected leader and mentor. Renée is best known for pioneering the integration of PRF, platelet-rich fibrin, in fibroblast aftercare, an innovation that earned her international acclaim. Driven by her own experience with acne and scarring, Renée created SQT Australia to deliver advanced, chemical-free skin solutions through world-class education and training. Today, her programs are trusted by clinics, educators, and distributors across the globe, and her commitment to intentional, results-led beauty has redefined industry standards. On today's podcast, we'll explore how a purpose-led approach can create powerful transformations, not only for clients, but for teams, businesses, and brands. From SQT Australia, today we welcome Renée Altakrity. Welcome to the podcast, Renée. How are you today?
Very well, thank you, Steph, and thank you for having me today. Such a pleasure.
It is such a pleasure, and I always love talking to you because we have the most in-depth, profound conversations, and I always come away thinking, wow, I feel just inspired, and I hope that, and I know that everyone listening today will also feel the same way after listening to you.
Yes, thank you. And back at you, Steph. I know the last time we met in Melbourne a couple of weeks ago, amazing. Like the wealth of information you bring to the industry and to us SQT team, it's been incredible and immeasurable. So thank you.
Oh, right back at you. Look, I'd love to start the podcast the way we start most of our podcast is please tell our listeners all about you and actually how you came to be in the beauty and aesthetic industry.
Yeah, so absolutely. So like I think many in our field, my journey began from a personal space. So I struggled with acne and scarring in my teenage years, and it deeply impacted my confidence. And I think that experience that I had ignited a passion to understand skin, and not just how it works, but how it truly works and how I can support it and also transform it. So I started out as a cosmetic tattooist, and I think that taught me that precision and patience. But I quickly realized that that wasn't actually fulfilling me, and I wanted to go deeper into skin health, so I expanded into the dermal space. And that included pathology as well, because PRF was a treatment I'd done a load of research on, and I wanted to be able to offer that to my clients as well. But when it came to SQT and my actual role in education, over the years and through my extra studies, I actually saw a real gap in the industry. Clinics were being sold products and protocols without education and that support that delivers the consistent and confident results. So I think that's what inspired me to create SQT Australia, not to just provide the training, but that innovative and natural treatment that also had the depth of training and mentorship that actually empowers the clinics and transforms lives.
Wow, that's a beautiful story, by the way. And I didn't realize, I think you've told me before, but you actually went into pathology so that you could delve into PRF and PRP because, of course, that's regenerative type medicine. And it makes so much sense that you would have then gone down the pathway with SQT when you found that, because the principles are very similar, aren't they?
Yeah, so natural, holistic approach. So a lot of clients can be a little bit standoffish when it comes to using synthetics or injectables. So definitely for me, when I had my children, I started becoming, a bit of a fuss pot around organic foods and wholesome foods, and really readjusting health internally as well as externally. So yeah, definitely PRF was one of my services that was amazing until SQT came. Now I don't do many of them. It's mainly all SQT because some people don't like the needles. So yeah,
it was your gateway drug into the spicule world. But every time you speak, what strikes me, I think the most, is that you and the SQT family, you do everything with humility and purpose. And I never hear this word humility. And I've heard it, I suppose, with speaking with you and your team more times than I think I've heard it in the last 20 years. What does humility mean to you?
Yeah, so look, I think it has a few different meanings, but in all, I think in a world where we live in, especially in the aesthetics industry, and I don't like saying it, there's a lot of ego and there's a lot of I'm better and I'm more, a lot of puffing of the chest. So I think for me, humility is almost like humanity in aesthetics. It's yeah, grounding, very grounding meaning.
That's so profound. Humanity in aesthetics. I love it. And that leads us to really what we're talking about today, and that's building purpose into the whole client business and treatment experience. And we don't talk about this enough, but clients and people feel purpose within a brand. They feel purpose within a therapist and within a business that they visit. And it's more important nowadays to actually come from this deep sense of why, because in this world where it's such a fast-paced world and it's so commercial, you'll get lost in the noise of the commerciality of it all. So I'd like to ask you a question. What does it look like when a treatment protocol is more than just a series of steps, when it becomes an actual ritual with meaning?
Yeah, so I think everyone needs that anchor and that ritual and the purpose. It's if you go into a clinic and get a treatment and there's no real ritual involved, so whether it might be the way someone touches your skin, it might be just that simple interaction, that story that you have with somebody, that's kind of, you've got to figure out your why as well. So I love that question. What's your why? So I think having that purpose, that meaning, that intention really sets you up for having that retention with your clients, and it gives you that purpose as well to want to come back and as well as with your clients, they want to come back and they return because you've got that intention and that ritual, and they know what to expect when they come through your door.
Wow, I love that. How do you think rituals shape the kind of client experiences, and I think also team cultures that cultivate like deeply loyal, lasting retention and an affinity almost so strong that it turns guests and staff into lifelong ambassadors?
Yeah, so I think it's more than just a checklist. It becomes like that moment of care. So when that ritual is intentional, as I mentioned, it's how we touch the skin, it's how we make someone feel. Does your client feel heard and validated in your space? So those small conscious choices elevate their experience because clients do remember how you made them feel, not just what you did. And it's also the consistency, like in today's world where it's super chaotic, people crave that comfort and care. So for clients, it builds trust. For teams, it actually builds pride and purpose. So when your whole team understands the why behind what they do show up differently. And that's what creates a culture that people want to stay in, Steph. Like, it's a business that people want to return to.
Absolutely. And scientifically as well, rituals, if you perform a ritual, it actually activates the part of the brain's predictability and safety circuits. It's actually incredible because it stimulates dopamine and these reward pathways that you get from doing something that's truly special. So rather than coming in and having like a cold, sort of hard clinical treatment, if you're performing those types of clinical treatments, because even when you're performing SQT, and I had it, and thank you so much for letting me share that experience with you, because those of you who haven't seen our social media, I went in and visited Renee and her team, and I actually experienced an SQT treatment myself, which was incredible. It was like nothing I've ever had before. But within it, it wasn't just a cold, hard treatment, and it could have felt that way because, there is a sensation to it, of course, when you're having the treatment. But within it, it felt almost like the protocol itself felt more like a ritual that I was part of, and it made me want to do it again, right? It becomes addictive.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the feeling of the spicules in the skin as well for 3 days after treatment. It's still activating those cells and doing something down in the skin, and the clients don't know what a basal cell is, or they don't know what the stimulation or what happens, but that's what actually becomes addictive. You're right. And I'm glad that it's a natural treatment they can be addicted to, rather than what we see in the aesthetics today. A lot of people sort of go overboard and they stop, looking like themselves. So this is all about skin health and vitality, which is what we try and bring to the table. Yeah.
And adding that deeper layer of that connection, because when I was lying on the treatment bed, the way that you spoke to me, the way that you were very intentional in the things that you did and the procedures that you did, but the way you spoke, and it was calming in the touch, and it felt like more of a little bit more of a deeper thing than just, hey, I'm having a treatment. It was having an experience, and that's, I think, makes it fully addictive, because having that ritual, having that feeling when you're visiting someone who's then working on your skin, it activates so many multiple brain reward systems in your head.
For me too, like when I start treatment, I say a little something to myself, like, I set the intention without my client hearing. I actually usher it under my voice. So and I just say basically a little thing like, let this be an amazing treatment for this client. Let us reach the goals that this client wants to reach, with their skin. And it's such a vulnerable moment for some, especially for those who struggle with acne, pigmentation, scarring. It can be a really vulnerable space for some people.
That's gorgeous. I mean, everything that you just said there embodied the concept of beauty with intention is, something that you say often as well. And you said that intention internally to yourself or externally before the treatment, it really does set a cadence for then what happens next. You're not just focused on the protocol, but you're actually focused on that intention. So you're constantly delivering it. The client feels it so profoundly, and they are more receptive to the treatment. There is something to be said when you're in this state of relax and calm, when you're in this state of serenity in that ritual, your cortisol levels reduce. And obviously your skin cortisol levels is one of the greatest impacts to whether or not you're going to have, a successful, good outcome, or if you're going to have an outcome that's probably too inflammatory. So setting that intention beforehand is so important. How do you actually help practitioners do this, and not just visible results, but the experience that clients emotionally connect to?
Yeah, so we start with empathy. Our training goes beyond technical. It focuses on the communication. Emotional intelligence is another big one, and holding space, as I mentioned, for the vulnerable. We also focus on confidence through competence. So when a practitioner truly understands what they're doing, they connect more deeply with their clients. And that's where the magic happens, Steph. It's results and relationships are absolute key. Some people you can't, teach that. It's an industry where you don't make it long. You don't go very far if you don't have that, but definitely your consulting and your you're building that connection at the start is absolute key. If a customer doesn't connect with you, they're not going to come back, and you can feel it. Even if you're having an off day, you can feel that the connection wasn't there.
I like that you've introduced that concept as well, because a lot of people will be thinking, oh, how lovely, this is beauty with intention and it's a purpose and it was so nice to have a ritual, but it's not a must-have. I'm running a business. I need my ROI, I need my profits, I need, to move clients along. And that's really a valid outlook when you own a business. And I know I've owned businesses for 20 years. It is not for the faint-hearted, right? So you're always thinking about what's my bottom line, but how can culture be used as an actual business advantage? Because in a commercial world, everybody's doing the same thing. Culture can actually stand you out, and it can stand you out because that connection that you drive may increase loyalty and sustainability and human-centric growth. So how do you think that you can go beyond the traditional metrics like revenue or reach with connection and that philosophy of purpose?
Yeah, well, I think a belief system is so important, and a values-led culture actually gives something to believe in and helps set them up for that belief system. So at SQT, our values are the humility, the curiosity, and also support. So when clinics embrace that, it shifts everything. The team dynamics, the leadership, the growth strategies. Yes, revenue definitely matters, but that's the outcome of alignment. When your values are clear and lived, I think you attract the right clients, and keeping great staff is super important these days, and you grow with integrity.
I feel like what you're saying as well gives you, sometimes as a business owner, you can get extremely burnt out, mechanically speaking. There's a lot of problem solving that you do. There's a lot of issues that you have to negotiate every day. There's the daily grind of it all. And then there's nothing to re-energize you. In the beginning, when we open up a clinic or a salon or a business, we're full of this inspirational energy. And soon the mechanics of running a business can burn you out. What would you say to clinic owners who do feel burnt out or disconnected from the original why? How can they reconnect?
Yeah, and I think we've all been through that. We've all been through it. We all have. And it's, in such a chaotic world where we're trying to juggle, especially most aesthetic owners are women, and we're trying to juggle families and children and the husbands and school, and then we're trying to have this balance. But I would normally say to someone struggling, pause, strip it all back, reconnect with why you started and what actually lit you up in the beginning, and bring a small part of that back into your day, whether it's your favorite treatment or maybe even a meaningful client chat. And lean into your community as well. Sometimes we just need someone to remind us your work matters, your impact is real.
SQT Biomicroneedling Australia, leaders in natural regenerative skin solutions. SQT's revolutionary Spongilla-based technology delivers powerful results without chemicals or downtime, making it a standout in modern aesthetics. With comprehensive training and global support, SQT empowers clinics to offer cutting-edge treatments with confidence. Ready to elevate your skin offerings? Discover the future of biological beauty with SQT. Visit www.sqtaustralia.com.au to learn more.
With SQT, I know our support may be little voice messages to wake up to in the morning if we know the other one's struggling. It might be some affirmation messages as well to lift each other up.
That's beautiful. I love that. You do that in the mornings to build morale?
Yeah, sometimes, not every day, but especially when we can feel each other when someone's feeling it. They've got stresses happening, whether it be inside the workspace or at home. We're all there like sisters. It's a real sisterhood. So You know, you might wake up to a beautiful message, hey, thinking about you, praying for you, whatever it might be. Here's a screenshot of a couple of affirmations that I've seen last night when I was scrolling. You know, and it does set you up for your day. Like it really makes you feel like you are supported.
I love the fact that you called it a sisterhood. You know, in our industry, and you called out that our industry is mainly female, and it is. It's 98 or 99% female. And then the aesthetic sector, there are more males. So medical aesthetic, you obviously, that's where you get a little bit more males in. But just the beauty and dermal sector is extremely female dominated. Our clients also make up, you know, 95% female clients. So you've got a 98 or 99% workforce that's female. You've got 95% also client base that's female. And it can be competitive. It can be, you know, this feeling of I need to perhaps elevate myself by maybe making others feel smaller. And that is a cultural thing sometimes that we notice in our industry. We've had so many people call up and talk to us about, you know, how do we improve the culture in our industry? Why is it catty? Why do we pull each other down rather than bring each other up? And how can we improve this sense of community? I love that you called what you have a sisterhood, because that is really the fundamental basis of what we should be doing. We are a women-led industry, supporting each other and supporting women.
Yeah. And we do have a couple of men. They're more doctors. We've got a couple of doctors on board. And they, you know, they do their own thing. They're busy with their own thing. But I think it comes down to the personality of the person and what they've grown up with or what they envisage as well. Sometimes you can lead horses to water, but you can't make them drink. Yeah, you've got to do the best to keep that positive culture and that sisterhood going, and just be transparent and open.
I think so. I mean, transparent, openness, and reaching out and just connecting with each other, I think, can overcome a lot of that type of culture, and reconnecting with your why and calming the noise down, because I think we've got a lot of noise. So you always talk about this concept of education with depth, so marketing without all of the noise. How can purpose-led sort of storytelling, if you will, and client education shift perception and demand? Because you are all about education. Every time I speak with you, Renee, you're not even talking about the product. You're mostly talking about the education behind it.
Yeah. And we've actually, I'm not supposed to mention this, but we've got a few exciting things happening behind the scenes with SQT. We're working on some educational things in the background for our certified clinics. So we might have to do another podcast on that, Steph. But I think people connect with stories and they do want to feel something. So when you share your why and how your treatments work and the transformations they bring to the table, clients feel that inspiration. So it's not about selling, it's about sharing from a place of purpose. And that's what drives the loyalty and the long-term growth that follows.
There was so much pressure to sell, though, and you've got pressure to sell in clinic, perform online. How do you actually guide clinics to educate with integrity rather than chase trends? Because there's trends at the drop of a hat in our industry.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny, I'm giggling to myself because on our group chat, one of the clinics came in and said, hey, what's everyone's thoughts of beef tallow? And, some people might use it, but this is where we always say, lead with substance, understand your treatments and know your science. When you speak with confidence and clarity, you don't need a hyped treatment and clients will feel that authenticity. We also create, as I said, community-led learning with our group. So we share podcasts, resources, practitioners, discussions, and it's not just us Layla and I giving our opinion. We let everyone have that. It's a shared space for curiosity and growth. So our certified clinics, they range from doctors, nurses, dermal and beauty therapists, all collective skin enthusiasts. So it's great for people to use out that platform and put on their experiences with, beef tallow on the face or whatever it might be, exosomes, a lot of them are trends. So it's finding what works for you, I think, from a logical perspective, and okay, where are the results? Where are the transformations? What research and development's gone into this particular product? How long has it been around? Who's using it? I think those are the questions that people need to ask themselves before choosing a new treatment to bring in.
You know what I love about SQT, the SQT family and your setup as well, which I'm extremely curious about, if you can give us some background on. You have this incredible community. So you have, hundreds of clinics. You invited me to this once every, I think, quarter that you do is a Zoom meeting, and you invite all of your stockists and clinics and salons along to have a couple of hours together. I'm not sure how long it was. I think I was there for about half an hour, but it went for a longer. And you had an incredible attending rate. So when I showed up, I was like, there's so many people on this call. And you also have a WhatsApp channel, like a WhatsApp group, and you get so much interaction with your stockists. That is, believe it or not, an extremely rare thing to get participation at that level. Can you please tell us how you created that community? What sparked the interest for your stockists to actually become part of this and a vocal part of this?
Yeah, well, I think especially for those solo practitioners, they go to work, they're on their own, they don't have anyone to talk with. So we have created that community for people, and it's not just the solo therapists, it's the people with 5 or 6. And when you did come on that night, actually back then when you came on, Steph, we were holding quarterly catch-ups. We call the SQT family reunions. Now, can you believe it? Where the demand's so incredible, and they're able to ask questions, they're able to talk about anything SQT or skin related. It's a bit of a refresher training as well. So if we've got some new products that have been launched or new ingredients in some of the sets, it's a way for everyone to keep on top of their game, and to be able to follow and pass that education on to the clients is really important, as we're talking about that retention before. So, and then the WhatsApp's pinging every 5 minutes, questions, whether it be the beef tallow one, something about using other products in conjunction with SQT or other modalities.
So that's incredible now that you're actually at monthly meetings. What I want to know is, how did you get the engagement? Because I have brands asking me about how do they create this community engagement. They struggle to get people to show up to the training, or they struggle to get, interaction between the clinics in a group setting, in a Facebook group, or in a WhatsApp group. How did you create that culture that was everyone's wanting to participate? Because that's an actual trick.
Yeah.
Like, there is something to that.
Definitely. One thing, Stefan, sometimes we can't put our finger on it. When we were at the Beauty Expo, the last year's Beauty Expo, one of the ladies said to one of our team, there's something about you girls that's magnetic and just spirited, about your booth, your exhibitor booth. And it made her to want to come back. So I think just possibly it could be the delivery of education we give. We don't answer questions wishy-washy. We make sure they're completely in depth. We've got the right information that we're passing on. We don't pass the buck, we deal with it. And if we don't know the answer, we search for it, and we search high and low. When you're in, again, a world where there's a lot of noise, some clinics don't have the time to go get those answers. So they're coming back, I think, to that safe space where, okay, I've got 5 questions I want to ask the team on Monday's refresher training. That's a great space because we're face to face, and we've got the involvement of other practitioners as well. So, there might be a question on the group around, injectables, and some of the nurses or doctors will jump in and say, this is what I would recommend. So there's such a wide or vast array of professions within our community. And I think that's what people like, the fact that they feel heard. They're not made to look stupid over asking any type of questions, and they're really supported and answered wholly.
I love that. I love that. I still think there's a little magic sauce in there that you probably don't even know that you haven't popped your finger on yet, to create this kind of cult-like interaction, because that's what it is. It's at that level where you're like a family. When you call it a family reunion, I actually see what you're talking about. That type of passion, you can't buy or manufacture it. So I'd love to talk to you another time about that in a little bit more of a deeper way. Now, I suppose we'll move on to, it's an offshoot of what you've been talking about, meaningful brands and the power of them. Our industry is filled with so much noise, Renée. You know, clinics and practitioners they want to be known for something deeper. And I think that's the most successful businesses that I've seen. Their why is so compelling for their clients that it makes them stand out in a saturated market. Tell us how we can find that meaning in our own brand.
Well, I think that's part of my special sauce there, Steph. But I think standing by something meaningful is key. Whether it's your skin integrity, whether it's holistic care, someone who specializes in pigmentation or acne, when you lead with a certain depth, your brand has soul. And brands with soul, they're the ones that your clients remember.
I love that. Brands with soul. I think it's a beautiful expression. I mean, we talk about a why, but I think soul is even deeper. So what kind of future do you think might unfold for our industry if more professionals actually chose to build with their legacy in mind? I suppose prioritizing profits over quick wins and substance over these trends that we're seeing, and perhaps even value over price.
Yeah, and that's a question that comes up, especially with our business development manager. And we can feel it straight away when a clinic's inquiring based on the results versus the profits. And it's a real hard one, because we automatically think, oh, we don't want to align with people who just are in it for a quick dollar. We'd create, in an ideal world, we'd actually create an industry rooted in the care and the transformations. And it's not just treating all the surface concerns, but supporting real lasting transformations for our clients. And then in return, our clients would feel safer and more valued. The therapists would also feel more fulfilled in their jobs. And these businesses would start thriving, not just surviving, like a lot of them are. And that's the future we believe in, especially with SQT, one built on legacy and not those shortcuts.
That's incredible. You know, if you actually could offer one question to every clinic owner or practitioner that they should ask themselves every day at the beginning of the day to stay aligned, grounded, and focused within their purpose, what do you think that would be?
I love this question. So I ask myself, does what I'm doing today align with the impact I want to create? And if the answer is yes, even in just a small way, then I think you're moving in the right direction. And sometimes, you know, connecting with a business coach or a mentor is a really, or just someone outside of your space is a really good way to figure that out. You know, for me, it's that impact. I want to make life-changing impacts on people, and not just with me being there in their presence with, you know, my spirit, but impact with my fingers, with my hands, with the treatments that I'm delivering.
You know, you joined ABIC as foundation partners, and you joined very early on in your journey as well, which is very remarkable. You know, usually we get people further on in their journey joining as a foundation partner, but you're like, nope, this is an extreme value for the industry and value for us. What motivated SQT, yourself and your team, to align so closely with ABIC to support the industry in this way?
We believe in lifting the whole industry and not just our brand. So partnering with ABIC has allowed us to contribute to better standards, deeper education, stronger support systems for every practitioner out there. We're proud to stand alongside a council like yourselves, ABIC, that shares that commitment to integrity, also empowerment and long-term growth. and it's something that shapes a stronger, more purpose-driven industry. And especially, recently, Steph, with the work that you guys have done for all the nurses, I know up here in Queensland, we've got a lot of stressed nurses at the moment. And just seeing that fight in you guys, how you care so much about the people, not about yourselves, but about the people that you're supporting. And that's, I think, what really aligned with SQT and our brand.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for giving back to the industry. Without brands such as yourself and generous sponsors, ABIC wouldn't exist. So the fact that we're here is a testimony to your passion, your dedication to the industry. And we thank you and all of our sponsors as well for allowing ABIC to exist and helping the industry. It's a very selfless, extremely generous, altruistic thing that our sponsors and our partners do for the industry. And today, what an incredible podcast. I mean, we learned how to reframe purpose as a strategic asset, which is not something we talk about very often, right? How can this wonderful thing called soul, as you call it, become a business asset? And also creating a brand that's both emotionally and commercially resilient. Both of those things are so important. So thank you so much for your insights. We learned a great deal of information that we can go and apply in our businesses, and we'd love to have you back. Thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you, Steph. My absolute pleasure.
You've reached the end of another episode of the ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay connected.